This is from Daniel. Hey, Daniel. Hey, I appreciate your work so much. Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate it, man. Love you too. I'm an fruitarian, and as you know, most of Asian will think they have healthy cuisine. Yep. Even though most of them were tons of nonsense, as in Chinese medical theory, as they'll be, OH, you shouldn't consume fruit. It's too cold and acid. You know, that's amazing to me, but this is true. And the hot and the cold thing, the problem with it, the acidosis yields heat internally, but you can be cold externally by a low thyroid and give the illusionary that you need warm foods because you're cold, and in reality, you're burning up inside. So, yeah, we have to, I think Oriental Chinese medicine or traditional Chinese medicine just needs to bring itself up a little bit into more higher thinking. And I think that if anything, we hopefully will have an influence on that, because they already know there's a lot of families over there that really know how to put together some kick butt herb formulas, that's for sure. There's some old, we talked about Jit Jin Jiao before, and there's some old family recipes there. Prosperous Farmer is an old prostate formula coming out of the ages of herbalism of China. So that's the whole thing, is nailing the right formula down with the right herbs that'll work your body and work your tissues into a healthy state of vitality. That's what you're looking for, the right formula that everybody, all the herbs there are working together. Once in a while you get a formula where you put an herb in and it's antagonistic to the group. And I kind of use spiritual energies to fill that. I'm familiar with the herbs, but sometimes, even though I've studied herbs for years and years and years, you still learn. Always learn. Even some of the older ones, I used to teach, of course, detoxification classes back in the early 70s and stuff, and I always give my students 10 herbs. I say, you learn these 10 herbs, go buy them, taste them, learn these 10 herbs, and then I'll give you 10 more. And after a while, when you learn them and you use them, it becomes pretty easy what comfrey is, and golden seal, and slippery elm, and pretty soon, you don't make a difficult world difficult. It's just there's so many different herbs, and that's the problem. So you never want to push the mind to learning stuff. You just have fun with them. You get used to them. You get down and dirty with them. Bruise them, taste them. We don't need a machine to tell us that they're all the same. I love that standardization bull crap. Pharmaceutical thinking bull crap. We'll just standardize all these formulas. But to standardize anything, you have to change its chemistry. And there's no way. So this whole standardization is brought about by some type of consciousness that herbs are unpure and uneventful unless they have a certain potency. And of course, pharmaceutical companies would know about these potencies, since most of their potencies are killer potencies. Blah, 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 blah. Just some of this stuff gets me sometimes. You have to forgive me, but even more illness. Yeah. You'll get even more illness and diarrhea. I know there's so many illusionary things, Daniel, out there. So many misconceptions. So many ridiculous ideas. Because somebody probably did go on some fruit and they got diarrhea out of it. And they still do today. There are plenty of people out there that are so toxic, that are so acidic, that when they go on the fruits, the body just explodes. Here's a good way, because you can have, let's say you have 5 clients. Each one of you are working on 5 different people. You can have one person go into a healing crisis within hours of taking the herbs. Within hours. Cold and flu-like symptom, achy, the whole detox syndrome. And others can go months and months, who need them, can go months without a healing crisis like. So there's so many variables, because remember, you as consciousness come packing here with a mind, several components of the mind. You come packing with emotions and a physical body. So, you have some, here, have some bone soup. Like, seriously. Yeah, I know, man. I know where you're coming from. And the sodium. But anyway, the concept of their detox was nonsense. What's up? Thoughts on cognac noodle, apple flour? Please research. I shall. I will. I'll research them for you. And I'll have him give me this back, Daniel, and I'll research those and see what that's from. I can just tell you, though, my opinion on things are obviously nature prepared. Remember, what was his name? Such a good guy. I really liked him, and he's still alive today. He was a big guy, real big guy. He's a black man and a comedian, and wrote a book, Cooking with Mother Nature. He went from, I think he was 500 pounds. So he got up there pretty good, 400 pounds. And then he got a hold of the raw and went raw. And then he wrote a book called Cooking with Mother Nature. Oh, he was a friend of, his name just slips my mind. I apologize, but one of those days out here. But to me, if it's raw fruits and berries and melons, that's number one. Your green fruit, like your avocados, your cucumbers, even maybe your peppers, the veggie fruits, to me are number two in terms of your body's ability to deal with them chemically and to digest them properly. When you start getting into the lettuces, the kales and spinaches and stuff, you're really into herbivore food full force. Thinking that's healthier than a fruit diet for humans is ridiculous, because humans are not herbivores. So trying to force a human into enjoying herbivore food sometimes is a problem, because a lot of you are starting to get to the point where you don't like salads anymore because they're hard to digest. And you'll get that way on fruit, because fruit lends itself, its energy and its chemistry so nicely. I am literally amazed at the people that think fruit is bad for you. I can't even believe that. And how this misconception got out there. Like fruit is so sweet. And yet no one defends fruit as being simple sugars. You know, you got simple sugar fruit here. There's simple sugars. And yet here's a piece of bread with 100 times more sugar. Much sweeter than a fruit. And yet we claim the fruit is bad because it tastes sweet and water tastes wet. What are you going to do about that? How does 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen taste so wet? See, so you got to look at some of those things, and I think there's no question man has to get out of their minds. I mean, the mind at the Homo sapien level here has been so tainted with crap that using your mind is a downfall almost anymore. You got to become more conscious. So yeah, I'll do that, Daniel. But you're right on with that. I see that. But the future, and if that's possible in that area of growth and expansion, to take traditional Chinese medicine way up there. You incorporate and make some changes with that, instead of treating with that, and use those botanicals for tissues in the human body, what they were actually made for. You could take traditional Chinese medicine way out there. When you apply the raw foods with that, understand the acid base a little more, instead of just hot, cold, damp, that sort of thing, you'll do better. Because there's a lot of good stuff to Eastern herbology. Michael Terra's got some good books on it, but there's some good stuff there. There's some good Ayurvedic stuff. There's excellent herbs around the world. I just love herbs, because when you see their magic and when you experience their magic, it's like, oh, yeah, God put those together. I get it. Yeah. And I'm hoping man on this planet will wake up to the fact of how beautiful these botanicals are for us. So when you start getting into other forms of taking food into, I don't know, if you could make a flour out of apples, I don't know. I'll look all that up. I got to look that up and see what's cooking, because I'm not overly savvy on that. I looked at, of course, you can't help but study traditional Chinese medicine, and you can't help but study Ayurvedic medicine in my field and coming along my way. But I really like the way we look at it here in America more. You got your 4 body types, the pitas and all that. I understand that in Ayurvedic and all that stuff, but I have to pull back a little more, because we are a species. We're not a blood type. We're not all that. We do have different blood types, but just because your blood type's different doesn't mean you require different diets. That's bull crap. And to put anybody, any human on a high protein diet, I don't care what your blood type is, I don't care what your body type is, bad news. Chemistry's chemistry. And the human body's the human body. We're a species. Just like the primates a species, you might have different types of primates, but as a rule, they're a species, just like herbivores, species. And then within the species, you have your different sets. So if you looked at the frugivores, you have the primates and the Homo sapiens. So far, I don't know who else fits in that category. But I'll look them up and get back with you, man.